This show is brought to you by Safety FM.
Every day on the job there's a moment. Sometimes you see it, sometimes you don't, where everything hangs in the balance. A loose bolt, a missed clip, a bad assumption. Or maybe the opposite, a choice made right. The right PPE, the right lockout, the right conversation at just the right time. Some folks call that luck. Here on Safety Wars we call it something else. The kiss of safety, the quiet moment where a safe choice gives you another sunrise, another paycheck, another night with the people you love. And the truth, no policy, no regulation, no binder full of procedures means a thing unless you live it, unless your team lives it, unless safety isn't a chore, it's a culture, a war we fight every day, one small decision at a time.
Hi, this is Jim from Safety Wars. Before we start the program, I want to make sure everyone understands that we often talk about OSHA and EPA citations, along with some other regulatory actions from other agencies, legal cases, and criminal activity. Everyone is innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. Proposed fines are exactly that, and they are often litigated, reduced, or vacated. We use available public records, news accounts, and press releases. We cannot warranty or guarantee the details of any of the stories we share, since we are not directly involved with these stories, at least not most of the time. Enjoy the show.
This show is brought to you by Safety FM.
Hello. This is Safety Wars for Thursday, November 20th, 2025. Just 1 week away from that L-tryptophan high we're all gonna have. Yes. Thanksgiving tomorrow. We are on this week, in the last few days. We're going to be releasing some Thanksgiving safety music. So, a couple of things out there. I got a special request to talk about NFPA requirements. Well, not requirements, but notifications on holiday safety, most notably Thanksgiving. You know that's like one of the number one top fire holidays when there's fire calls of the year. Thanksgiving, Christmas, right? New Year's, I think, is the other one, where people are all getting together and, Anyway, you'll hear more about that next week. And so, one of the projects I'm on, they have a morning huddle. Every morning, there's everybody gets together. We all talk about safety, things that went on the day before that could have gone better, things of that day which we're trying to plan for, and something about safety. So here we have, and this is like a bizarre story. This actually happened. About 2 miles away from my house. And North Myrtle Avenue in Spring Valley, New York. So this is from News 12. Officials tell News 12, this is from last week, a body was discovered at a construction site on North Myrtle Avenue. Investigators say the person has not been identified. It's unclear how long the body was there for, but it was discovered inside a portable toilet. It's like, well, that's, bizarre. Then I said, well, how often does this happen? So I just did a Google search here. And here we have so we have the one in Rockland, February of earlier this year, a Richland man dies in a porta potty fire. He said himself. This is from Levittown, Long Island, New York, from last year. Looking for a person who set a porta potty afire in Levittown. Dead body discovered inside a porta potty at a Baltimore Ravens M&T Stadium from 2019. Man found dead in porta potty at Walker County Flea Market from 2 months ago. Homeless man files lawsuit after porta potty incident in Saginaw, Michigan. Arson bomb squad investigating after a man set fire to a portable bathroom on his front lawn. There's another one, man from Brooklyn, New York, News 12 in Brooklyn. Man found dead inside Lakewood porta potty. Cowboys, Marshtown, Nealon dies after a apparent self-inflicted wound inside a porta potty. So there's a lot of stuff that goes on inside of porta potties. I don't know. It's a little bit bizarre if you ask me, but, it's like, really? It's just like where people ask you, Jim, why do we, here we go. Of course, Florida man here. Naked Florida man abandons stolen SUV to hide in porta potty. So, now you're going to say, well, okay, obvious safety issues in there, but what does that mean really for us? I've spoken to many EMTs over the years, and what the EMTs have said to me is that in bathroom and porta potties are where they find a lot of their issues. I don't want to say it's common, but it does happen with people who feel sick. So what do? They go to the porta potty. People want privacy, they go to the porta potty. A homeless person needs somewhere to do his business or her business, they go to the porta potty. And there are other things going on. So this comes to what does this mean for us? What really does it mean for us? I'm trying to get rid of this. I have these lines coming down. Are those on the camera lens? Yeah, apparently on the camera lens. What do we do here? You have people coming into work every day. You have people leaving work every day. Your job site, whatever it was. The last person who leaves, do they actually inspect the job site to make sure everybody leaves? Well, what do you mean, Jim? I work at many secure job sites. There is a fence around the entire job site. Do you actually go out there at the end of the day, knock on every porta potty, check every bathroom, any place on there to make sure you're not locking people in? Because that not only is a safety hazard, that's also a potential security hazard. I've been on jobs where they've already locked people in, and what happens? The person ends up stealing a whole bunch of stuff, then breaking out over the weekend. Or, 10 hours after everybody leaves. We all have stories about where we've heard of, and in the industry, outside the industry, people have died at work. Earlier this year late last year, we had a person die at work at a tech company, and no one ever noticed. It was like that old movie Teachers, starring Nick Nolte back in the 1980s, where a teacher dies in the classroom and nobody notices. Because he always was behind the newspaper, and he had all the notes written on the board, and your assignment was to read all the notes because that's what was going to be on the test. It actually happened where a woman was there for like 3 or 4 days, dead. So what's my message? You go, again, it's an accountability log. Do you have an attendance sheet where you're able to verify who came in and who came out, who's there, who's not there? So you go in, and that's when we made it a point today. So at the end of the day, when there's only 2 or 3 people left, because of course you have the buddy system, everybody go around. Let's check the porta potties. Let's check the offices. Let's check the trailers. Make sure the trailers are empty. No one's in there. And let's make a habit out of it. Then you can avoid this kind of stuff. I mean, now, you hear about weird and everything. I don't know. We have some additional press releases. They're in a press release frenzy here. and with the federal government. So we'll come right back at you in a couple of minutes here. And let's go to our first commercial. We'll start with our stuff.
Have you listened or watched the Safety War Show? It does stream live on the radio and on the streamer-emers that we have. So if you have not taken a listen to Jim Posel and what the hell he's doing every evening with Safety Wars, I would strongly encourage you to take a view or take a listen, whichever option is available for you, and take a listen to what the hell he has going on. It will take some deep dives and some information that you might be interested in.
In an unpredictable world, one voice rises above the chaos. Meet Jim Posel, a seasoned safety expert who's navigated through some of the most dangerous scenarios, from anthrax, explosive cleanups, disasters, and numerous environmental cleanups, and lived to tell the tale. Now he's bringing his wealth of knowledge, insights, and experiences to you through Safety Wars. From workplace hazards to the hidden dangers in your own home, Jim covers it all with his engaging storytelling. Safety Wars isn't just a podcast, it's your guide to a safer world. Join Jim Posel and become part of the Safety Wars revolution. Available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, and wherever you get your podcasts and videos. Safety Wars. Your safety is our mission.
OSHA recordables, catastrophic losses, environmental disasters. You want answers? So do I. This is Jim Posel with Safety Wars.
That's my daddy!
Yes, Jessica, I am your father.
Safety Wars is streaming now.
SafetyFM.com.
Yeah, I had to adjust that camera and turn off the light behind me. It was getting this like silver streak or this golden streak coming across there. So let's go right to the government press releases. Happy, joy here. So, Okay, so I have something that I signed up for, but I never received a copy of because they only come out with it quarterly, and we'll go through it briefly. What is this? This is the Office of Inspector General, right? Hold on, let me make this like this. Okay, Office of Inspector General for OSHA. For OIG Investigation Newsletter, Office of Inspector General from the Department of Labor, I guess. So this is from the quarterly summary of selective investigative accomplishments. Now, as we said last night, my opinion, we should be evaluating everything that is going on there and questioning everything that's going on. Why? Do we need a lot of these programs? I had asked this question. We had and it has to do with surveillance earlier this year on the U.S. Census. Now, do we really? No, yeah. Do we need the census to apportion the vote, the House of Representatives and everything else? Absolutely, we need that. However, they do a lot more other stuff other than that, and they're constantly collecting statistics. Or should they be doing it? And some people said yes, some people said no. I say, yeah, but let's question why they're doing this. Where does this apply? Same thing with the Bureau of Labor Statistics. With that, what are they using all of this data for? And do we really want them, want to be cataloged? I mean, the biggest fraud that I hear is, I've heard from the federal government, one of the biggest, this will only take you 15 minutes to do, Jim. Yeah, and then you end up there for hours filling out forms, right, with that. Oh, but it's only 1 in 450 chance that you're going to get it. And it's like, yeah, and then how come I got it 3 times? I doubt that it's randomized. Sorry, doubt that it's randomized with this. It's like with jury duty, right? Some people keep on getting called again and again and again. And then nobody gets called. And then, it's all according to, we go off of voter rolls. Well, then now you're encouraging people not to vote. We're all going off of driver's licenses. Well, then there's issues with that. It's ridiculous. So what they need to do is continue to go and, in my opinion, do all the press releases. Explain why you're there and what you are doing. We're going to have another story here about the CSB, Chemical Safety Board. Maryland co-conspirators convicted and sentenced for $3.5 million in unemployment insurance fraud. Conspiracy, firearms, and drug trafficking claims. So this is from July 21st, 2025. The newsletter just came out this morning. Zakira Hussain pled guilty to conspiracy to commit wire fraud and aggravated identity theft for his role in a $3.5 million pandemic-related unemployment insurance fraud. It goes on and on. $557,000 fine, 102 months in prison. Right? With that. So when a search warrant was executed on his home, they found a firearm and a bag of marijuana out. Right? He threw a firearm and bag of marijuana out to his bedroom window. Here we have another one. Same crime sort of thing. A woman gets 4 months and 4 years, 2 months in prison in order to pay back $2.59 million in restitution for her involvement in a scheme to defraud unemployment insurance during the COVID pandemic. Here we go. California couple sentenced to more than 12 years in prison for unemployment insurance fraud. Former Amtrak employee sentenced to more than 2 years in federal prison for COVID-19 fraud. Lizette Lathan, a former Amtrak employee, was sentenced to 25 months in federal prison for conspiring with her husband to steal $1 million in pandemic-related unemployment insurance benefits and for fraudulently obtaining more than $63,000 in sickness benefits while she worked at the passenger railroad company. She was also ordered to pay more than $1 million in restitution. All during COVID here. Indianapolis man sentenced to prison for stealing pandemic relief funds. Again, a pandemic relief fraud scheme totaling $520,000. Unemployment insurance. $3.2 million unemployment here. It goes on and on and on. 2 defendants pled guilty to fraud scheme involving, and this is a local case for us, involving data stolen from hospital patients. On July 28th and August 6th, Charlene Marte and Wilkins Estrella pled guilty to conspiracy to commit wire fraud and bank fraud in a scheme fraudulently obtain pandemic relief funds from the IRS and the New York State Department of Labor. Again, $1 million in actual losses, and what do they got? Still doing the investigation, it looks like. And not sentenced yet. Here we go. Houston doctor to pay more than $2 million to settle allegation of fraudulent billing of federal programs. AJ Argowal, an anesthesiologist and pain medicine doctor, agreed to pay more than $2 million to resolve allegations he submitted false claims to the DOL's Office of Workers' Compensation Program. Right, and it goes on and on. Former Bureau of Labor Statistics economist sentenced after pleading guilty to making false statements on July 17th. Matthew Hong, a former economist with DOL's BLS, was sentenced to 36 months of supervised release in order to pay a restitution of more than $13,000 to BLS for making false statements. This was in connection with sick leave compensation he received from his federal government employer when he was not sick. Former corporate vice president, we're almost done here, pled guilty to violating the federal anti-kickback statute. So, Robert L. Rubin. Hold on, Robert L. Rubin. Now, why does that name sound so familiar here? From 2010 to 2020, Rubin served as a vice president for a company. Company One, with headquarters in Herndon, Virginia, that engaged in the business of providing protective security officers at federal workplaces in numerous states. As an executive at Company One, Rubin held a hidden 33% interest in a subcontractor, Company One, through his consulting business based in Bethesda, Maryland. In exchange for his hidden 33% interest, the subcontractor's proceeds, Rubin assisted in obtaining and performing lucrative contracts on behalf of Company One. So this is like a kickback, money laundering type thing. Now, here we go again here. 6 former cult members sentenced for lengthy forced labor conspiracy to compel labor of minors. We have been one of the only programs on there that has consistently mentioned child labor. It's an issue here. My question is, and it did end up in the congressional hearings this year for confirmation hearings on federal official. What are you going to do about all this stuff? It's like they were listening to this show, with some of the questions that they had these senators were asking of these potential candidates. Here, where are those like 300,000 children? And they're recovering, but it's only like a couple hundred at a time, maybe, where these kids have been. They're not all these 300,000 missing children. But here we go. On August 7th, 2025, high-ranking members of the United Nation of Islam were sentenced for their involvement in a forced labor conspiracy scheme. Kaba Mahid was sentenced to 10 years in prison. James Staten and Rodney Hadley were sentenced to 5 years in prison. Daniel Aubrey Jenkins and Dana Peach were sentenced to 4 years in prison. And Yinis Razul was sentenced to 5 years of probation. Razul subsequently entered into a restitution and appeal agreement to pay $150,000 to the victims. So this is an old case here. From October 2000 through November 2012, the defendants conspired to enforce rules requiring UNOI members to perform unpaid labor, using beatings, threats, punishments, isolation, and coercion to compel the labor of over a dozen victims, including minors as young as 8 years old. Victims worked without pay for up to 16 hours a day in UNOI-owned and operated businesses in Kansas, New York, New Jersey, Ohio, Georgia, and other states. The defendants also forced the victims to perform unpaid child care and domestic service in the defendants' homes. While the victims were housed in overcrowded, unsanitary conditions and limited food and water, the defendants lived comfortably. During a September 2024 trial, it was proven that the defendants made false promises of education, life skills training, and job training to induce parents to send their children to Kansas. After isolating victims from their families, making them fully dependent on UNOI, the defendants required the victims to attend UNOI's unlicensed and unaccredited school. They also restricted and monitored victims' communications with others, including regarding the whereabouts of the victims. So that is United Nation of Islam that did that. Kentucky man pled guilty to conspiring to cover up coal mine fire in Illinois. Timothy Brandon Parsons pled guilty to conspiring to defraud DOL's OSHA in relation to an underground fire that occurred in MC No. 1 mine in Franklin County, Illinois in August 2021. On August 12, 2021, Parsons was the mine manager when an underground fire was ignited by a torch used to cut collapsed steel beams. Rather than implementing the approved mine emergency evacuation and firefighting plan, Parsons and conspirators agreed that they would not evacuate miners or notify MSHA, despite gas detectors indicating the dangerous presence of carbon monoxide. Miners continued to work during the firefighting efforts from August 12th to 13th. On August 13th, 2025, Parsons tried to conceal the existence of the fire by evacuating the mine under the false pretense that a coal-carrying belt was broken. Later, MSHA received an anonymous tip about the fire and ordered that the mine be evacuated after inspectors confirmed the fire's existence. Despite evacuation order without OSHA's permission, the conspirators twice re-entered the mine to assess the fire and manipulate underground conditions so OSHA would allow mining to resume. Conspiracy members did not wear the device designed to track the underground location of miners, and they made false entries and records. So there we go. Right, first time I'm seeing a press release from them like this. So we look forward to more of them. And we're going to take our next, a very, very brief commercial break. Is your safety training old, stale, and hackneyed? Is your safety trainer still preaching a warped version of behavior-based safety? How about safety training that actually addresses your hazards in your workplaces and is not standardized baloney from 25 years ago? Contact the Safety Wars team at safetywars.com or call Jim Posel at 845-269-5772. Remember, if you're receiving this message, you are the solution to unsafe workplaces.
This is gonna blow your mind. There's a new daytime talk show on your local cable access station. What happens when safety, scandal, and heartbreak collide? Welcome to Safety Wars, the talk show. Today's episode is a doozy. Imagine confronting your unsafe supervisor who just happens to be your ex-wife's new hubby. Talk about a powder keg. But wait, there's more. We've got an exclusive interview with a corporate exec who's taken out life insurance policies on his riskiest workers, hoping to cash in on a deadly mishap. Yup, you heard that right. It's a real-life plot twist you can't make up. Tune in as Jim Posel, CSP, our very own Jerry Springer of safety, dives deep into this explosive confrontation. Sparks will fly and secrets will be exposed. Catch the full episode on Safety Wars on YouTube and your favorite podcast platform. Don't miss out on the drama that could save your life. Like and share now, and stay safe, folks.
All right, so we are back here, right?
From the front lines of the safety war, it's Safety Wars, with your host, Jim Posel on Safety FM. Get ready to face the harsh reality.
Yes, that's what we're doing, the harsh reality. We have from the Milwaukee Journal Sentinel from November 18th. Investigation continues into worker death at a pizza place. Records show past violations. And again, this is what the establishment search is a BITCH for a lot of people. We'll leave it at that. A lot of people want to get rid of the establishment search and these press releases from OSHA. Under the Biden administration, they were issuing press releases all the time, unlike the Trump administration on specific things. And here's the whole accident report. They were very useful, right, for a lot of people. Now you got to do a FOIA request and everything else. An investigation into the death of a worker at the pizza place located in West Milwaukee is ongoing and is expected to take several more months. According to the OSHA, OSHA opened an fatality investigation. The investigation is expected to take 6 months. OSHA sent a November 17th email. Now, this is it. The victim, Robert Sharon, 45, of Elkhorn, was killed after he was crushed by a robotic machine inside the facility, according to the medical examiner. OSHA opened a fatality investigation after the incident, but the agency has not released a narrative. And he was a father to a wife and 3 children. He enjoyed trying new beers and spending time outdoors with hobbies that included rugby, fishing, basketball, and football. He's a fan of bad movies and loved making people laugh. He always thought of others first, made sure to fill their cup before his own. Right? Rest in peace. So this place has had several violations over the years here. People losing fingers, fines, machine guarding, all different types of stuff here. And I tell you what, that stuff never goes away. Right? There's always a record of it. Now we're going to go back and forth here. with the next two stories here, because I was able to look up the establishment search and find out some more info. Now, I normally do not do this, but I'm going to share this thing, and I'm going to comment on this. I think this is a very, very important article that was on OHSonline.com by Stasia DeMarco, published yesterday. As you know, we sometimes use... I'm using this under the fair use. For this, I will be commenting on this. As we know, we sometimes use the CSV stuff. We made a couple of videos, downloaded some videos, played some videos, and everything with them. And here we have proposed budget cut to Chemical Safety Board. Could limit OSHA's reach. Safety experts warn that eliminating the Chemical Safety Board will remove a critical investigative partner to OSHA. The Chemical Safety Board, an independent federal agency tasked with investigating chemical accidents, is once again facing elimination under the proposed federal budget. Right? While the stated justification points to overlapping responsibilities, safety experts warn that this is a dangerous misunderstanding that could have serious consequences for both workers and surrounding communities. Christy Hames, head of product marketing for chemical management and industrial hygiene solutions at Velocity EHS, the CIH, emphasizes that the CSV plays a distinct and vital role. OSHA cannot. Quote, CSV is not a regulatory agency. They don't issue fines or citations like OSHA. Instead, they investigate a major chemical incident to uncover root causes and share lessons learned across the industry. That's something OSHA doesn't have the bandwidth or scope to do. You know what I'm going to do? I am going to PDF this because this is a important thing. While OSHA conducts inspections to ensure workplace compliance with federal safety standards, the CSV performs root cause investigations after catastrophic chemical incidents. These investigations go beyond regulatory violations to examine organizational failures, cultural breakdowns, and mechanical flaws. And I'll add this, they do a lot more than that contribute to tragic outcomes. In contrast to OSHA's enforcement focus, CSV provides detailed reports, video reenactments, and training materials that may help employers with that. And let me point some stuff out here. So we read these accident reports all the time from OSHA, right? And it says person died, right? Or there was a fatality, there was a situation, there was an accident, and these are what the citations are. And they didn't do this, 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 and this. They quote this, this, and this. And if there's a general duty clause violation, they're supposed to give 4 reasons why there's a general duty clause violation, and I think we're all aware of what those are. Now, right? The CSV and OSHA has 6 months to get their stuff in there and issue citations and reports and everything else. You as the employer have to make sure that you have an accident report, at least a preliminary one, and determine recordability within a week. Right, so you have to have something there. You know, accident investigations may go on for years, especially if they're complicated ones. The CSV, I don't think, has that. It takes them a long time to go and complete these investigations because they're very highly technical. And OSHA does not normally have the technical skills to do this, and you're not to do this type of stuff. And also, the OSHA reports can be used in litigation. CSV reports cannot be used in litigation because if they did that, nobody would be talking about anything, and we'd have a problem. We never get to the bottom of anything. And they're much more they're much more in-depth, detailed, smaller agency. I don't know why they are going out and cutting this. This is a very small agency, but you get a lot more bang for your buck with this because, again, the industry is not going to go out there and say, we fouled up and this is what we need to do to fix it. Not going to happen. There may be some altruistic companies out there, isolated companies, people, individuals that do that. Not so here with this. So here we have, this was from November 19th from newschannel10.com from Sunray, Texas, KFDA. It's been almost 7 months since the Skyline grain elevator explosion left the city of Sunray without natural gas and injured 5 employees. The incident took place on March 28th and remains under investigation with OSHA. According to OSHA's website, the Skyline grain is facing 5 initial citations equaling just over $54,000. So let's see what those are. Here. Boom, boom, boom. And let's share screen. So this is what we're left with now. All right. So here we have the narrative. Where is the narrative? I think I need to go back one. They don't give a narrative. Usually they give a narrative as to exactly what happened. So let's see what this is. And let's remember, with all these legal cases tonight, innocent till proven guilty. So this is a serious violation, 1910 038C1. And of course, the site cannot be reached. Emergency Action Plan. The employer failed to develop and implement emergency procedures and an emergency action plan for reporting a fire or other emergency. Proposed penalty, $13,240. Citation 2. 1910-2272 grain and handling facilities, $13,240. The employer did not develop and implement a written housekeeping program that established the frequency and the methods in terms best reduce accumulation of fugitive grain dust on ledges, floors, equipment, and other exposed surfaces. And again, why do you want to do housekeeping with grain? Fire and explosion hazards. With that. 1910-272 J2II, the employer shall immediately remove, and this is another $13,240, any future grain dust accumulations whenever they exceed 1/8 of an inch at priority housekeeping areas pursuant to the housekeeping program, or shall demonstrate and assure to the development and implementation of the housekeeping program that equivalent protection is provided. Again, they were working in piles of dust. The employer did not, this is 1910-272 M2, the employer did not promptly correct dust collection systems in the grain handling facility which were malfunctioning or operating below design deficiency. On or about March 28th, the west side of the job site, employees engaged in the grain handling activities worked in areas where fugitive grain dust accumulated due to malfunctioning dust collection systems. $13,240. So, and we have another 1910-272 MO3 for $1,062. A piece of paperwork. A certification record shall be maintained of each inspection performed in accordance with this paragraph M, containing the date of inspection, going on and on and on, and they didn't have that. I believe they were supposed to reduce that in like 4 hours if asked. All right, so that's accident number 1. We've had all this bitterly cold weather, here. And I tell you what, it's been dehydrating. We'll leave it at that. Here. Okay, this is Texas tower technician death leads to OSHA citation and reduced penalty of $4,500 to a certain company, RB Telecom. This is from wirelessestimator.com, article by Wireless Estimator. It doesn't give a name here, right? Now, this is actually a really good article because it tells you everything. The OSHA has issued a serious violation and settlement fine of $4,500 to RB Telecom following the fatal fall of a tower technician working on a T-Mobile build at an American Tower site in Cotton Valley, Louisiana. The incident occurred on February 17, 2025, when a 27-year-old tower technician fell from a platform of a guide communication tower during an equipment installation. The tower, approximately 349 feet tall, was used for a scheduled upgrade project. According to OSHA's findings, employees were performing installation activities on an elevated platform above 4 feet high without the employer ensuring personal fall arresting systems were used, a violation of 1910-268. And OSHA did not state whether the worker was wearing fall protection gear and tied off at the time of the accident. However, in the citation's language, specifically that the employer did not ensure fall arrest systems were used, indicates the employee was not tied off while performing the work on the upper platform or was wearing appropriate PPE. So that's all alleged by wirelessestimator.com. Now we talk about, then they go into what's a serious violation. That means when you know a violation exists and is likely to result in death or serious physical harm, and the employer either knew or should have known, also known as constructive knowledge, of the hazard, but failed to correct it. In tower climbing operations, failure to ensure personal fall arrest systems are properly used at a height directly meets this threshold, and falls remain the leading cause of fatalities in the communications tower sector. And this type of, this type of citation continues to frustrate many reputable tower service companies, even when employers provide PPE training and written procedures. A single lapse by a technician can still leave the company liable. Industry leaders note that while 100% tie-off is required at all times, it is practically impossible for supervisors to monitor every climber at every moment during the tower work. And yet OSHA enforcement ultimately places responsibility on the employer. All right, that's their comment, not mine. The fatality underscores the ongoing challenge. I mean, I tell you, when they're at height, a lot of times you cannot tell whether those people do or do not have on fall protection. How many times have I said, you know what, the guy looks like he's wearing fall protection. Maybe I should go up and check things out. Happens all the time there. And what ends up happening is that those guys are usually thrown off the job immediately with that. So let's see what OSHA says. That's what they say. Let's see what OSHA says. They might not have right? They might not have, they updated it here. So here we have one. While climbing, so here we go. At 6:30 a.m. on February 17, 2025, employee 1 was ascending a communication tower to assist the installation of a new telephone communication dish. While climbing, the employer lost footing and fell. Employee number 1 sustained fatal injury. So here's what, now they give the inspection number here, the detail. One serious violation with that. All right. Now, you're going to say, Jim, they could have fined him for a lot more. Why is so little? Don't know. I was not involved in this case, but often what happens is OSHA doesn't wants to get a right. They know that there's going to be a citation. There may be a lawsuit here. So OSHA tries to get people to admit guilt. So when there's a lawsuit, they can say, well, look, we're admitting guilt. They admitted guilt on this. Often that's what happens. I don't know if that happened here, but, that's the way it is. And that's enough for OSHA tonight. We're going to move on to some other things.
Safety Wars is streaming now. SafetyFM.com.
What if everything we thought we knew about safety was just interference? From the host of the Rated R Safety Show and the founder of Safety FM comes the complete Signal Transmission Trilogy, now available in one powerful edition. Safety, in my opinion, the book that started the conversation. Safety Mutation, where the boundaries of culture, systems, and belief begin to break. And now, Safety Transmission, the final piece of the signal. For the first time, all three books are together in one volume. The Signal Transmission Trilogy, Complete Edition. This isn't just about compliance. It's about consciousness. It's about decoding the way we think, lead, and live, inside and outside the system. Whether you've been following the signal since the beginning or you're just now tuning in, this is the version to own. Search Signal Trilogy on Amazon or visit safetyfm.com to get your copy now.
Okay, we are back. So, tell you what.
At Safety FM, we're just a humble radio station and podcast network.
One more.
But we're changing the way people look at safety, one broadcast and one podcast at a time. Because here, we don't treat the word safety as a dirty word. We make it powerful. Rated R Safety Show. Jay Allen pushes boundaries and breaks myths. Safety Wars. Jim Posel brings the battle for safety to life. Pre-accident investigations. Todd Conklin dives deep into human performance. The Safety Consultant Podcast, Sheldon Primus helps you build your business and your career. A Hope Podcast with no name. Andy Barker and Matt Florio keep it real with human and organizational performance. The Accidental Safety Pro, Jill James explores what it means to grow in this profession. The Safety of Work, Dr. Drew Ray and Dr. David Proven bring you science, research, and real-world impact. Hop into action. Ben Hutchinson gets you moving from theory to practice. Truck Safe Live. Brandon Wiseman delivers compliance and safety for America's road warriors. The Safety Pro Podcast. Blaine J. Hoffman blends leadership and innovation for today's workforce. Whether you're on the job, on the road, or on a mission to make work safer, there's a voice for you at Safety FM. Safety FM, changing the way people look at safety, one broadcast at a time. Visit safetyfm.com or download the Safety FM app wherever you get your podcasts.
So, a weird thing happened this past weekend. I was doing every year for the Boy Scouts. I do the troop that my son is in. I do first aid CPR training for the Weeblos. It's real simple at their level to discuss first aid CPR. I know where I went to school, grammar school, that was like half the year of health was first aid CPR. Back in them days, and that we didn't have mannequins. And so I do the same thing now for the Weeblos. And right in the middle of the class, I say, there's one of the scouts comes up to me who's cooking, getting ready for lunch, is Mr. Posel, I just got cut by a knife. So I actually had an actual live demo for all of the kids to see, first time that ever happened. But you have to pivot, I guess, when it comes to this stuff. And that's what I do. U.S. Department of Labor today awarded, this is $2.3 million in additional funding to support continued disaster relief jobs, employment, and training services for West Virginia residents after the aftermath of 2025 severe storms. In May 2025, the Department's Employment and Training Administration awarded an emergency national dislocation grant, worker grant of $1 million to Workforce West Virginia. And we also have U.S. Department of Labor awards $4.4 million to continue disaster relief jobs for Missouri residents affected by multiple severe storms. U.S. Department of Labor today awarded $4 million in additional funding to support continued disaster relief jobs for Missouri residents affected by severe storms that occurred in the spring of 2025. Right, in July 2025, the Department's Employment and Training Administration initially awarded $1 million in funding to the Missouri Department of Higher Education and Workforce Development to begin disaster recovery efforts. U.S. Department of Labor awards $1 million in grant funding to support disaster relief jobs and employment and training services for Alaska residents after the aftermath of severe storms and flooding caused by Typhoon Hailong. Beginning October 8th and continuing through October 13th, the remnants of Typhoon Hailong caused a series of powerful storms that struck substantial portions of Alaska's western, northern, and southwestern coasts. Wind gusts exceeding 100 miles per hour caused extensive storm surges and flooding that destroyed roads, runways, critical infrastructure, and washed away or severely damaging hundreds of homes and buildings in the affected communities. Alaska's Division of Homeland Security and Emergency Management reported that 1,400 residents were evacuated from 49 communities to Bethel, with some later being relocated to Anchorage because of a limited emergency housing. Secretary Shabazz Dreamer's statement on the September jobs report. Again, this stuff was delayed. Because of the shutdown. U.S. Secretary of Labor Lori Shabazz Dreamer issued the following statement regarding the September 2025 Employment Situation Report. This is from today. Driven by impressive gains in private sector payrolls, our economy added 119,000 jobs in September, more than doubling expectations. We should have had this positive report 7 weeks ago, but Democrats chose to play political games and shut down the government. This is a quote from her. Despite their constant efforts to undermine President Trump, he is building an economy that is firing on all cylinders. Job and yearly wage growth flew past expectations. More Americans are entering the workforce, and long-term employment is down. This report reflects an economy that was running strong going into the shutdown, proving this administration's America First policies are incredibly effective when Washington isn't paralyzed by the Democrats' noise. Again, this is her saying this, not Jimmy. We expect this moment to continue as the president's full economic agenda takes effect, including historic tax relief provided by the working family tax cuts and the trillions of dollars President Trump has secured to reindustrialize our nation. This is from the Bureau of Labor Statistics. Note, due to the lapse in appropriations in effect from October 1st, 2025 through November 12th, 2025, there will be no publication of the unemployment insurance claims news releases that would have been published from October 2nd through November 13th. The official seasonality adjusted unemployment insurance claims for this year may be assessed through a public website using the following URL, and they give it to you. In the week ending November 15, the advanced figure for seasonally adjusted initial claims was 220,000, a decrease of 8,000 from the previous week's level. The 4-week moving average was 224,250, a decrease of 3,000 from the previous month's average. So that's what we're looking at here. Here's the graphs. They're nice and straight across here, and they give you. So, I mean, this is pretty. I know people are going through their own situation. I'll leave it at that. I'll say it that way. But now, unfortunately or fortunately, when it comes to public health and public policy, everything's a number. That's the way it is. I'm going through this on a personal situation right now, and it sucks here. Let's see, is there anything else here? A lot of political news here. A lot of political news. Okay, here you go. U.S. Coast Guard will no longer, and this is from MSN.com, will classify swastikas, nooses as hate symbols. The U.S. Coast Guard will no longer classify the swastika, an emblem of fascism and white supremacy, inextricably linked to the murder of millions of Jews and the deaths of more than 400,000 U.S. troops who died fighting World War II, as a hate symbol, according to a new policy that takes effect next month. I don't get it. Let's see what else. Like, they have to say World War II, millions of Jews? Yeah, because there's a lot of people who don't know about World War II or the Holocaust. You just, rip the remainder of my hair out on that one. Just like the Helen Keller didn't exist, right? They have videos. They have movies of this woman. Helen Keller didn't exist. And it doesn't help when AI wrestling fans are putting up Helen Keller as a wrestler, as a professional wrestler against other people, Helen Keller versus Genghis Khan. What would happen, right? Instead, the Coast Guard will classify the Nazi-era insignia as potentially divisive. The policy is set to take effect December. Why the delay here? December 15th. Similarly, downgrades the classification of nooses and the Confederate flag through the display of, though the display of the latter remains banned, according to documents reviewed by the Washington Post. Certain historical displays of artwork, the Confederate flag as a minor element, are still permissible according to the policy. Okay, so what's the purpose of this? All right, so they're not hate symbols. Any display or promotion, is this internally? This article is not. The Coast Guard and military service within days. No, I don't know. I don't know what to say about this. Do they mean internally? I don't know how smart it is. Regardless of what your opinion is of these groups, hopefully it's a negative opinion. I don't know how smart it is that for people to display this as a Coast Guardsman, or as in the military, or if we're at all. But why would you do that? I don't get it. We've had our share. There was a famous company that's named after a river that hires companies from the Midwest, and they're loaded with Nazis and with KKK members. We caught them. So I guess, okay, here it is. Second to last. In the Air Force Army, for example, current policy prohibits knowingly displaying paraphernalia, words, or symbols in support of extremist activities, or support of groups or organizations that support things. So I guess this is what this is. In 2007, 2 incidents involving nooses within the Coast Guard drew national attention. Don't recall that. That summer, a black cadet at the Service Officers Training Academy found a noose in his sea bag while aboard a Coast Guard vessel. The next month, an instructor discussing race relations in response to the first incident reported that noose was left in her office. I remember that one. That one rings a bell. But anyway, that's all I got for tonight. I will see you folks next week, probably. I normally don't broadcast on Friday, but who knows? It's Safety Wars. We may release just a podcast, not the live program. For Safety FM and Safety Wars, this is Jim Posel signing off.
The views and opinions expressed on this podcast are those of the host and its guest and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of the company. Examples of analysis discussed within this podcast are only examples. They should not be utilized in the real world as the only solution available, as they are based only on very limited and dated open source information. Assumptions made within this analysis are not reflective of the position of the company. No part of this podcast may be reproduced, stored in a retrieval system, or transmitted in any form or by any means, mechanical, electronic, recording, or otherwise, without prior written permission of the creator of the podcast, Jay Allen.